All right, good evening, everyone. Time is 6:30, June 21st, 2023, Abington Conservation Commission meeting. First item is abbreviated notice of resource area delineation located at 161 North Quincy Street. Just to give everyone an update, I think everybody here has visited the site. I know last week we did a site visit. Rich and I did one the week before, earlier last week. Kathy, Dan, Jean and I did one. Tony was there for that one. And then Monday, Lynn and I did one over there. So between our peer reviewer BSC and the applicant's wetland scientist Trunk, they're still working through everything before they come before us. They've asked to be continued to the next meeting. I told the property owner, Mr. Zachary, that if they get everything to us tomorrow, we could possibly do a special meeting next week if the timing lines up, just to get it voted on. So we'll see where that goes and if we can make that happen. With that said, does somebody want to make a motion to continue to July 11th?
I'll make a motion to continue 161 North Quincy Street to July 11th meeting.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Next up, SE 084-553, review and possible vote on project located at 154 Brockton Ave. So this is a revised plan that Mr. Thompson sent off to us. He's still waiting for Carl Garvey to stamp it and get us that plan. All right. I'm going to pass it around this.
Do you have an indication of where the signs are going?
No, we hadn't determined that yet.
And Alex had mentioned Arbor Vitae may not be the best.
Correct.
I mean, that's up to them. If
Yeah.
if deer
We
eat them,
decide.
it's part of the restoration work, so.
Okay. We're gonna have to pass it on to
It just seems kind of crazy if they're gonna plant arborvitaes, if they're not deer resistant strain, it's just gonna keep continuing this process.
Well, when I sent the email over, or to Tony, and she forwarded it to them, I specifically said deer resistant
Okay.
arborvitae, so. I guess if we're all set with that plan now,
Oh, they didn't fix the spelling error either,
that's all right.
that
Pointed out.
Alex pointed out. I think.
Should we set up some sort of email chain with Tony, Jean, and Ken so that all of the scheduling and all of the orders are followed correctly this time?
Yeah, and we're also gonna have to determine sometime out in the field where those conservation signs are gonna
That's, I asked for you to do that
go. Okay,
months ago, so
all right,
that's why I want you to basically act as the agent on that,
that's fine.
to make sure everything is done and we don't have to have any more discussions about it
Yeah,
till they come back for a COC.
that's fine.
Someone want to make a motion to approve the revised plan?
I'll make a motion, we approve the revised plan for SE 084-553.
We have a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. All right, next up, notice of intent. There is a number for it, right? I know there is. Huh? Huh? Yep.
What was that number again, Tony?
84565.
All right, notice of intent, 084-565, located at 0 Summer Street.
I'll wake you up though.
Is there a good position to have that board, or do you want me to move it somewhere else, or?
Sir, are you here for 0 Summer Street? Is that location for the board good for you, or you want to angle a little bit so you can see it?
Yeah, I'd like to say that.
Yeah, maybe it's better you put it right next to the podium, that way.
It's better.
Good evening, members of the board. Paul Mackles with Allen Major Associates. I'm also accompanied by Jim Lambert, who's representing the client for the project, and I also have Joe Sander, who's one of the design engineers for the project. I have the green cards and also receipts for any of the green cards that did not come back. We're here before you tonight for a notice of intent that has been submitted for proposed multifamily residential development off of Summer Street for the property currently identified as Lot 112 on map 20, on the Assessors Map 24, and lots 11 and 11A on Assessors Map 17, totaling about 9 acres. The property is located on the north side of Summer Street and on the south side of the MBTA Abington Station. We got the train tracks to the east and residential property to the west, and also the DPW building is also at that corner there. The project has received approval for a comprehensive permit from the Zoning Board of Appeals, and through the process, we were granted a waiver from Chapter 171, the Wetland Protection Act bylaw, and the proposed NOI is subject to the Wetlands Protection Act only. The wetland resource areas were previously delineated by Goddard Consultant, who's our wetland scientist for the property, and that was done in February 10th of 2021. Goddard filed an NRAD with the Conservation Commission on February 24 of 2022, looking to get the wetland resource areas confirmed. The NRAD identified 3 wetland resource areas. There was some BVW associated with this existing drainage pond that's out here by Summer Street. There's also some BVW associated with some wetlands here that eventually drain to a flare end section that goes into the municipal system. And there's also an isolated vegetated wetland pocket located on the west easterly side of Monahan Crossing here. And that wetland pocket was approximately 4,452 square feet in size. A NORAD was issued by the Conservation Commission confirming the wetland resources in October of 2022. Under existing conditions, the majority of the site is undeveloped, with a Monahan Crossing which bisects the property into two portions. Monahan Crossing comes from Summer Street and connects to the MBTA train station parking lot that's there. Under Monahan Crossing, there is limited stormwater infrastructure on the road as it exists today. There's several deep sump-hooded catch basins which outlet on the westerly side of Monahan Crossing, which all end up in this bordering vegetated wetland, which ends up in the municipal system. There's also some other utilities in Monahan Crossing, which include sewer, water, and electrical. The proposed project consists of 198 residential units located within a 5-story E-shaped type building, which will be located on the easterly side of Monahan Crossing. On the easterly side, we're also proposing 3 parking garages. 2 will be skirting the property line by the tracks, and then there's another one that's on by Summer Street there on the south side of the property. On the east side, we're providing 198 parking spaces for the residential units, And then on the westerly side, we're proposing another parking area for 102 parking spaces. So the total site would be providing 300 parking spaces, 40 of which are located in garages, and then 260 are exterior parking spaces. Also on the westerly side, we're proposing a dog park for the residents. And in between the buildings, inside the E-shaped courtyards, one courtyard will be associated with pool and patio, and the other one will just be some greenscape there. The proposed project will be serviced by underground utilities. We'll be tying into the municipal water and sewer that exists on Monahan Crossing and extending out to Summer Street. New gas will be provided on Monahan Crossing. It will be located on the easterly side of the development, inside the shoulder. We'll be proposing minimal work within Monahan Crossing, just proposing some new driveway curb cuts and some parking lot associated with the clubhouse that would be located in the amenity spot in the middle of the building. We are proposing some stormwater management improvements to the property, which include best management practice. They're going to include grass swales, deep sump hooded catch basins, several water quality structures, and 2 infiltration basins, all located on the westerly side. This infiltration basin here, which is identified as Basin 2, is going to take everything on the easterly side of the development, including the parking lot, the residential development building, clean roof runoff, directed into that infiltration basin, and that would be designed with an outlet control structure. This proposed infiltration basin, identified as Basin 1, on the westerly side of the road, they'll be taking care of the parking lot that's on the west side, and also taking some of the runoff associated with Monahan Crossing, where we're improving by installing some water quality structures. Both infiltration basins will have outlet control structures that have been designed to meet pre-development conditions in accordance with the Stormwater Handbook. Portions of the property are located within the 100-foot buffer zone to BVW, and this plan here kind of illustrates the wetland resource areas on the property. The wetland lines are identified in blue. The local Town of Abington's bylaw has a 35-foot no disturb zone, which is the first red line that you see with small dash lines. The 50-foot no build zone is the bigger dash, and then the green is the 100-foot buffer zones associated with those wetland resource areas. The orange line dictates the limit of work line shown on the application and on the plan set that was submitted before you. So the proposed project is going to fill in an existing isolated vegetated wetland, which is shown in that's a purple hatch area here, which again is 4,452 square feet. We are proposing replication of 5,077 square feet adjacent to the existing PVW in 2 areas. One is going to be on the east side by this BVW here, and that's approximately 2,300 square feet, about 46% of the replication is going to occur there. And then on the westerly side, we have another BVW wetland replication area. That one there is 2,700 square feet in size approximately, and that's 54% of the replication. As previously stated, the proposed project did receive approval from the ZBA, and during that process, the plans and drainage calculations were evaluated and peer-reviewed by the town's consultant, Tetra Tech. So we're hoping that you'll be able to utilize all that information that Tetra Tech did provide for the ZBA as part of your review and your decision when you render a decision on this application. As noted before, the plan, we did receive Mass DEP file number, and they had no comments on their website. So, that concludes my presentation, and I'll open up to any comments the board may have, and maybe ask any questions.
What was your name again?
Paul Matos, M-A-T-O-S.
Thank you.
Welcome.
First question I have, I've received several emails. What was the reason for asking for the waiver for the Abington bylaws, and when was that granted?
That was granted in October of 2022 by the ZBA. And
At that meeting, I thought they pushed it off and didn't grant you the waiver.
I'll have to double check on that. I was almost positive that we got those waivers granted.
And I thought the town council said that they would revisit it at a later time.
Okay, I'll have to double check that.
I believe she said had taken it ahead of time and she shouldn't have. I think that's what the meeting had said.
Unless there was another meeting, I think it was
Not that I'm aware of.
October 13th or something. 'Cause I know I sent an email to Amy about that, asking basically to keep that we as a commission would rather see our bylaws kept on this project as with any other project that comes before us. So, at that October meeting, I didn't think that it was granted. I could be wrong, but
All right, I'll review
Yeah, yeah.
I'll review the decision when we get back to the office, and we'll inform you.
but what was the reason for it anyways?
That's just a comprehensive permit that we ask for waivers from different sections of the bylaws to comply with state regulations. And,
Okay, so there's no
waive
specific
the-
reason for waiving it?
Yep.
Okay.
Last year, we had the wetlands delineated through peer review.
Hmm?
And in that BVW, there was confirmed an intermittent stream, which we asked for it to be on the plan. And I don't see it on there.
Yeah, well, I believe that what was discussed was that if you inquired about that during the notice of intent process, we will go back and relocate that. We have not located any intermittent streams within that BVW. Again, everything is inward of the BVW, and we are holding the wetland line as the outer limit, and we're providing the buffers off of that.
But we don't know the width of the intermittent stream, which may go beyond the listed BVW. And it seems funny that your replication area is gonna be right beside the BVW. I mean, I'm kind of confused on
In our ORAD, we said as part of approving it, is that before you guys came to us, or a part of it, is you would designate the width of that.
And that
And we
never,
don't see that on here.
Yeah.
That was part of the ORAD decision
correct.
that we made.
I know there were questions on flagging. Tim had gone out when we had the peer review done. I think LEC did the peer review, and Mark Manganello walked with, Tim was brave enough to go out by the pond area, and the flagging was adjusted accordingly. I think it was
Yeah, I
enlarged.
believe, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
The other question that was supposed to have been addressed from that ORAD is whether that pool was a vernal pool or just a regular pool. And has that been addressed?
I'm gonna have to get back to you on that, I do not know.
Okay.
That's in the IVW?
No, it's the pool.
it's the pond where,
This pond here?
where you have the
Yeah.
parking, yeah.
So that was one of our conditions for approving that ORAD.
Okay.
I have a question about, I noticed there was mention of a 20-foot buffer around that pond, what we presume is a pond.
Yeah.
And it said per the Abington Town bylaw. That's actually incorrect. There was a typo. The town bylaw has 200 feet for the pond.
Okay, but we're asking for, we have got a waiver, well, we asked for a waiver from the town bylaw, so we'll have to.
Right. So then we're dealing with the 100-foot buffer.
Correct.
Right, so if we're going to have it on the plan, it should reflect not 20 feet on the plan, it should be changed. The other thing I'd like to mention about that is why go 20 feet up against the pond?
Why hold 20 feet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's no performance standards for work within the buffer zone, according to the Wetland Protection Act, and that's what we're following.
But I would like to hear thoughts about how we're protecting the interests of the Wetlands Protection Act by only putting 20 feet. Because I can't find any scientific evidence, papers in the literature, municipal guidebooks that say 20 feet is sufficient for protection of the Wetlands Protection Act. The bare minimum is 25. So I'm just,
And where's
how are
25
you
going?
going to, there's a lot of issues with parking spaces being right next to either a vernal pool or a pond that presumably could have aquatic life. So how are you going to address issues dealing with a pond?
All
Or
stormwater
BBW.
in the paved surfaces are directed towards catch basins, which have been designed, and into the drainage system, which has been designed in accordance with the Stormwater Handbook, which is part of the Wetlands Protection Act. So none of that water is gonna go in towards the wetland resource areas. The only thing that's gonna be going in towards the wetland resource areas are gonna be just grass landscaped areas.
And so what are you gonna do when someone decides to have a party and throw crap into the pond?
I can't protect against stupidity.
Right.
That's not my responsibility.
I mean, my point is that the closer you are to a resource area, the more damage you're gonna do, especially when you're gonna have a lot of people coming, going, parking, you know, walking their dogs to the dog park across the street, that sort of thing. So that's one issue, and the other issue is in terms of snow storage.
Yep.
Where is that going to be?
We have, on the layout and materials plan, I believe snow storage is identified, so we have areas identified on the plans as being around the perimeter of the parking lots and on this slope here. And we also have a note on the layout and materials plan, which is approved by the zoning board of appeals, that the snow accumulated more than what the site could accommodate, we would have to truck it off-site.
And it's a zone 2 aquifer site, so are you having de-icing chemicals?
We could put special notes on order conditions to not have any of that.
Because that's another concern I have, if you're gonna have a parking lot right up against a pond, you know, you put sand in there, eventually that sediment's gonna end up in there with snow melt.
And the Myers Street wells are across the street in a protected area, so, I mean, it's also the head of the Taunton River watershed too, so. I mean, it's a very critical area.
Yep.
So how are you gonna deal with what the DEP has to say about dealing with snow at a zone 2 aquifer site?
We're gonna deal with whatever they want us to do. Again, we're next to an existing parking lot for the MBTA train station, which almost the entire parking lot is located in that zone too. We just have a little portion of it that gets clipped right here, so only this portion of the parking lot is. The rest of this is located outside of that zone too.
Right, but the parking lot that's already there is not near wetland, it's outside the wetland buffer. And that's my concern right there.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, is there a detail on the garage itself? Sand, salt shouldn't get to the pond because you get granite curbing everywhere over there. What does the garage look like?
Just looks like a 10-bay garage for,
The front of it, what's gonna keep anything from getting from the garage out towards that pond?
well, the
Outside,
garage is gonna have garage doors. The garage is
so it's gonna be
typically pitched.
it's gonna be fully enclosed.
So,
is what I'm
yeah, the
getting-
garage is
okay,
typically pitched to pitch
Oh,
towards
yeah.
the front of the door, so that way nothing gets,
got it,
and if it
okay.
goes inside the garage, it'll be contained within the garage.
Yeah, so
Nothing
there's
flat
no
out.
potential for
Correct.
salt or anything to get from the front of the garage to the back of the garage. Anybody else have any questions before I open it up to the public? Right? Do you have anything you want to say, or?
I think I lost that page, but my book's all
Back
back.
for appendix C.
John Norton, 84 Progress Street. There's not really much I can do. I know there's a lot of, with the 40B, things and provisions that get overlooked and bylaws get done, but I urge you guys to vote against this. I don't think it's turned out enough until we find out what's definitely going on, what's going to happen with the snow basins and any kind of environmental problems. And just in closing, I urge you guys to vote no. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any comments?
From the board?
Yep.
There's a lot of information for us to go through here.
Well, I think the first thing we need to is see if I'm wrong about the interpretation from that October ZBA meeting.
Yeah, that seemed a little premature for them to go and waive it when we weren't even,
involved.
yeah, I mean, it wasn't even brought to our attention.
Well,
so-
no, I told them my thoughts.
Yeah, but I'm saying, you know, I would think that if somebody was gonna speak on behalf of the conservation, we would have had at least an impromptu meeting that would have said, oh, by the way.
But at that point, this, what we're looking at hadn't been designed yet.
Okay. Well, yeah, I mean,
we
obviously,
had
this
no-
has changed a million times since we first saw it. So,
It's gotten small.
Correct.
it was smaller and taller.
Yeah.
I mean,
The height
so,
has nothing to do with us.
right. We don't, yeah.
A lot smaller, the parking area or impervious areas have gotten smaller, everything, so. The footprint's
300 parking spaces,
Yeah.
you said?
How many,
Units?
198, so it's about 1.52
and how many do you need to have?
per zoning, we needed like 500 and something.
Okay, so you're having less than what's
So we have
required.
less and less required by
Okay.
zoning. And I believe that's on the layout materials plan. It has a table, it says what's required from zoning and what we're providing.
So can you show me again on your map right there where the restoration area was gonna be?
It's this yellow highlighted area or yellow shaded area.
Yeah.
So that's one of the replications area. That was the one that was 46% of the replication, and
But
the
if-
other one was 54%, which is down here.
Okay, but correct me if I'm wrong, Tim, but where he pointed on that map, he's saying that's a restoration area. Wasn't that where we expanded the wetland line?
Can you point to it again for me? In there?
I'm pretty sure last year, I mean, when we had,
Yeah, that was the tough spot to get to, I do know that.
right,
You're talking like GC 208, that area, those flags?
yeah.
I thought that was it right there.
Oh,
That was the area that we,
Well, we have the flags moved, because you can see these flags were designated 208C, 208B, 208A.
Right, this is the one,
That's the
They didn't
additional
have-
flags that were.
that were
asked for.
moved
Yeah.
after, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay,
so it was like he found an additional wetland source.
Right.
There, that we had them reflag. Identify that.
okay.
In designing this building, you're filling in an IDW.
Right.
So you can put a courtyard.
Well, courtyard, a little bit of the courtyard is it, but the majority of it's for the building.
Before I forget, over by the pond too, I received an email today from, I don't know if she's in a butter or not, do you know? Okay. Oh, yeah, she's probably by the, she's up by the dog park.
Yeah, yeah.
Behind the dog park, so. But she wanted me to show the commission these photos that she took. She didn't provide a date. I don't know if she's responded yet. Of a blue heron, photo of a blue heron and of a harrier hawk, but you can definitely not see the hawk in this photo. So you definitely see the blue heron.
Yep.
We actually heard that when we were on our sidewalk.
Yeah, last year.
It sounded like, we were like, what is that frog? Do you remember that?
Yeah,
Mainly, yeah.
yeah, and when we checked the Merlin app, it's actually the call of a great blue heron.
So it's right there on that
Oh, wow.
pond.
Oh, yeah,
So there's probably fish in there.
most likely.
I guess that would answer our question about whether it's a vernal pool or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, she hasn't responded to my email yet. Yeah, if you want to get up, just state your name.
Picture of the harem.
Good evening, Jim Lambert, Managing Director for Wood Partners, here on behalf of WP East Acquisitions with the applicant. Just a couple of, I think I have answers to a couple of the questions. So regarding chemical usage, so let me back up. So there was a decision granted by the Zoning Board of Appeals that us as the applicant then appealed, and then we entered into a negotiation with the town of Abington, came to a conclusion, excuse me, on a revised plan, which is what you see before you at the lower unit count. That has been sent to the Housing Appeals Court for issuance of, I think they call it a remand decision, which is, we're expecting to come out anytime soon. In that decision, there is specific language to the question about what chemicals could be used for snow. I can read it quickly. It says, the use of de-icing agents should be restricted to the absolutely necessary for safety and consideration of water quality concerns. Sodium chloride is not to be used for de-icing, and only calcium chloride or other more environmentally protective alternatives shall be used for de-icing operations. It goes on to talk about removing snow if there's nowhere to put it in the project. So that is addressed. And then to your sort of the core question about the waiver is granted. I'd have to go back and look at the original version, but in this version, the local bylaws waiver has been granted.
Yeah, I just need to know when it was granted.
So again, this is in the revised decision that is in front of the HAC currently that has been signed off by the town. So it will be reissued, or it will be issued by the HAC, we're hoping any day now.
So wait, the HAC
Yep.
rescinded our bylaw?
No.
Okay.
So there was the town of Abington, the ZBA, and us as the applicant agreed on a revised decision that included that waiver. So the ZBA granted the waiver. It's just being approved by the Housing Appeals Committee.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody have any other questions?
I think we should do peer review. This is very complex. This is the biggest project I have seen since I've been on the board. Most of the time what we're dealing with are single-family homes. I've never dealt with a 40B. I don't know if any of you guys have.
No,
I haven't dealt with the big apartment complex. We did peer review for the ANRAD. I think we need help.
I have to agree, because trying to read through all this information, I'm sorry. Some of it I can understand, some of it I cannot. I would want to make sure that what we have in front of us is verified with an outside resource, peer reviewer, to say, yep, this is absolutely fine, there's not a problem here. We ask for specific things in our ORAD to be on the plans and they're not. I mean, that's a problem for me.
I'm not opposed to it. I mean, we've done it. We did it for the ANRAD on this project, and we've done it on a couple other projects, and each time we have found discrepancies. We've come to resolutions on all of those discrepancies. To me, it would probably speed along the process. Just like we're doing on other projects, let our peer reviewer work hand in hand with their engineer and just
Iron out the differences.
act on our behalf.
Correct. It kind of
puts it in the hands of someone who's familiar with reading through all this documentation. I mean, quite honestly, I mean, I started to get lost in some of this information. I mean, I've taken the certification classes for, you know, conservation commissioners, and even still, I'm sitting here. I just can't sit here and go, no. I need to have someone who has expertise in this area to look at this and say, yeah. I mean, that's me.
Now, can I just get some clarification on what you're looking to get peer review? Because again, this has gone out to an outside consultant for the town of Abington, Tetra Tech, and they've reviewed the entire project as it relates to the development of the 40B, as it relates to the comprehensive permit regulations, as it relates to the town of Abington. They weighed in on all the waivers. They reviewed the stormwater regulations in accordance with the stormwater, Massachusetts stormwater standards in the handbook. So I'm just wondering what is that you're looking for on a peer review, because if you wanted to, we could provide you all the letters that Tetra Tech provided to the town, or that's on file with the ZBA, and hopefully they will have their sign-off letter saying that the drainage system has been designed in accordance with the stormwater handbook. They meet all 10 standards. They're also in compliance with the MS4 regulations, where we're providing at least 1 inch of recharge over the entire impervious surface for the development, also including Monahan Crossing, which is an existing private right-of-way that's there today. So we've gone above and beyond of what is required, and we've done it to the maximum extent practical.
Well, I think as far as DEP goes and your replication areas and the fact that someone had a picture of a blue heron, and I do recall hearing one last year at this time, I mean, there's a few questions that I have regarding the environmental protection part of this.
Did you have your peer reviewers focus on the Wetlands Protection Act?
No, that's all I'm asking the question. What is your
Right.
intent of the peer review? Are you just asking for reviewing the wetland replication area? Are we in compliance with DEP's regulations?
They
and
would
stuff?
go through the whole plan, and then they would make comments to us as professionals as to what their thoughts are about whether the plan would provide for protection of the resource areas under the Wetlands Protection Act. You know, it'd be a professional wetland scientist who's used to looking at these sorts of plans. And they would, you know, be able to kind of be our employees, our agent, who would look through the plans with that focus. Rather than just stormwater, it would be
Well,
on
stormwater
protection.
is not our,
That's what I'm saying, is not stormwater. It would be focused on what our judgment in regards to the Wetlands Protection Act.
this Tetra Tech, they are planning board's peer reviewer, right? We had the same issue with another peer reviewer where, same thing, they were vetted for the planning board aspect, but we had our peer reviewer vet all the
Resource areas.
correct. And we still found,
Discrepancies,
Yeah.
yeah.
not saying we will here, but
Did Tetra Tech review on behalf of Abington?
The
for the
stormwater.
zoning board.
Okay.
For-
But
yeah.
would they cover all the things that we're looking for as well?
No.
No,
Okay.
Well, so that's why I'm just trying to get what was going to be peer review. I'm just trying to avoid having duplicate efforts and have somebody else review the stormwater when it's been.
It would-
It's
The whole-
open knowledge, I'm not a huge fan of peer review. I feel it's a tool that we can utilize a lot of
Okay.
times. But I think in this case, I have to kind of lean with the board that this is a bigger project than we're used to seeing. There's a lot of things, I can stare at the numbers just as well as anybody else, but a lot of them aren't gonna mean much to me.
You replicate, yeah, and as far as, you know, the DEP aspect and the resource areas, I mean, I want to be absolutely sure that what you're presenting, and I mean, I looked at your restoration plans, and it really didn't give me any information other than it quoted DEP what they want, you know, but it didn't go into any real, I need more information. I think I gave you my section C, that's why I was looking for it, and I'm like, we couldn't find it.
I was having trouble finding it.
Yeah. I mean, again, peer review is for our peace of mind, and it takes
and looks at the data and interprets it to us and says, yes, it's correct, or no, it's not, or we could use some improvement here, or we could use an improvement there. That's what we would use it for. We've used it on other projects as well.
No, I agree, I just want to make sure that we're on the same page, or,
And that's why I was wondering if they reviewed the areas of our expertise, if you will,
Yeah.
where they can guide us the best and either say, yeah, these are the best you're gonna get for the project for what we have, or these are some areas that could need some improvement. Obviously, we want to minimize the impact to that site because it's a complicated site and we just want to make sure we do it right. And at the same time, we don't want to hold up the timeline either.
Who is your wetland scientist on this?
Goddard Consulting?
Remember, it's Nicole
Oh, is it Nicole Hayes?
Nicole Hayes.
Yep.
Scott Goddard and Nicole Hayes, yeah.
So would she be doing the replication?
No, the wetland replication was done by our landscape architect.
So it wasn't done by a wetland scientist?
Grady
it was just-
Consulting, Grady Consulting, right?
Grady Consultants are landscape architect for the entire property.
Oh, okay,
The wetland replication was done by Allen and Majors wetland,
okay.
Allen and Majors landscape
Let me
architect.
write that down.
It says it right in the back of the book.
All right.
It's on its own separate sheet.
There's a lot of information here.
It's a lot of information.
Yeah. I mean, this reminds me of a
I've had
text.
this a couple of days.
Yeah,
It's made my head numb.
yeah.
This is
That's
tons.
just the landscape, the plan that you're looking at is the landscape plan
Yeah.
for the entire site.
Okay.
The wetland replication's on its own separate
Almost at the
plan.
back of the book.
L101.
Thank you. Watershed plans. Okay.
This would take me days to put this.
I know.
There's a lot of things I'm looking for.
I know. That's
They're in there, but it was hard to find.
It's very
You
difficult
had
to
a car,
find.
a couple of
It's,
little cars. We had the same issue we had on
I mean, come for conservation, I want to see
Some
conservation.
snow at that.
I don't want
Yeah.
that other stuff. And pretty pictures.
Any other comments?
None for me.
Would we table this till we find out what the decision is on that?
Till we get I mean, the decision is, you're just basically waiting for the decision's been made, you're just waiting for the paperwork, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so, I mean, I don't think we need to table it. If peer review's the way we want to go, we shouldn't hold it up to wait to get papers from the state.
Yeah.
I don't know, could hold it up.
Somebody want to make a motion, or?
Well, I don't want to make a motion, but somebody else can make. I mean, I kind of reached out on my own just to see with our peer reviews that we've used in the past if they've had any availability. So, you know, not knowing how the board's going to vote, I just kind of like went, I'd rather be prepared than not prepared because we're getting into vacation seasons and everything else. So,
Well, you're the one that's been making the list for,
I have been making the list. So, you know, if the board chooses and decides and votes for a peer review, I have reached out and did hear back positively from one company that would be willing to take a look at the information provided for the wetland portion, if it could be electronically sent to us so I can send it to them.
already electronically.
Is
We already
it,
have
okay? Because I mean, you know, just send it to me in an email or something, or we can just, because I think,
Everybody, yeah,
I think
everybody
she
got it back in
yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
sometime at the end of May.
Yeah, I just, May was a bad month for me, so I kind of like, so I can send it out to BSC Group. Matthew, I think you met him at the last walk. I believe LEC does work with your company.
Yeah.
On other things, so it would appear to be a conflict of interest and they could not. They did
Yeah, I
the
saw that.
delineation.
I believe he said that, right?
Sorry?
Mark said that in the email?
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Now, it was BSC Group, the one that did the wetland line?
No,
Evaluation?
LEC did the wetland
Oh,
line.
LEC did. it.
LEC peer reviewed the wetland line,
Right,
Okay.
yeah.
and, you know, that's where the sheet-like intermittent stream came into play.
It would have been nice to have the same,
Right, and I had reached out just on my own and said, hey, you know, they're coming in with an NOI, would you be interested? And then he had responded back and said, we do work with them, so we're gonna have to just, not to appear conflict of interest, so I said, understood.
Gene, the file was sent on the 31st of May.
Oh, that's why I didn't pay attention to it, I was kinda busy. Sorry.
Does somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion for peer review for SC 084565.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous? Do you want to continue to the next meeting, that way,
When's the next meeting?
the 11th of July?
That's fine.
Okay.
Oh, I think Matthew did say he might be on vacation, so it might have to go another week out. I can let him know tonight what the outcome is from tonight's vote with the commission and see if he can speed things up or whatever, but, I mean, we're getting into vacation time,
I know,
so
I
it's
know.
really tough.
Yeah.
4th of July is very popular.
Well, let's schedule for the 11th, and then
If we
if something
have to
happens,
adjust
we
it.
can just
Okay,
continue
thank
it,
you.
and it's not an issue.
Thank you very much.
So want to make a motion to continue?
I think Lynn did.
We just did.
No, for peer review,
We did peer review.
not the continuance.
Oh.
All right, I'll make a motion to continue SE 084-565, notice of intent, 0 Summer Street, until the July 11th, 2023 meeting.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My face
Yeah.
looks like it's on fire. Is it?
It's warm.
All right, next up, discussion on 0 Hancock
I
Street.
usually don't get over hot.
No, I kind of felt lightheaded.
Hurry up, 'cause I'm gonna need you for this one.
Are you okay? Yeah, I just have to probably take a sip because it's fine.
So 0 Hancock Street, they started work on areas 3, 4, and 5 on Monday.
Yeah, unfortunately, I forgot all about Monday.
Lynn witnessed them starting the work, but she didn't go onto the site because she didn't want to run the risk of trespassing.
And I don't blame her, I would never go alone.
So, when Tony gets back,
Can
we
we set up
schedule it
another date so that,
between Jean, Lynn, and Tim, because you three were supposed to act as our,
Next time I'm gonna call
Agents.
you guys and say, remember, I don't know what happened with you.
no, that was
wasn't at
the,
meeting. No one ever told me when you guys were going.
Okay,
So that
and I didn't
happened
have
to
your
you
phone
guys.
number, so I was just like, okay, it was, you would have been like,
setting up a
What are you
meeting
talking
for
about?
0
Yeah, yeah.
Hancock.
yeah, okay, so,
When would you like to?
better communication.
So you want Tony to just email the three of you and just set something up with,
yep,
don't copy me on it.
noon works, I
No,
mean,
it's too many people.
noontime works, I have no problem with that.
Well, Tim needs to sleep, so don't do it noontime
Oh,
tomorrow.
Tim, why are you
Not
up,
tomorrow.
why are you up nights?
I've been up since yesterday morning. I'm
Why?
gonna do another one tonight. Water breaks
Where?
all over the place.
Oh, jeez.
All right, so next up, it's not on the agenda, but it's for an enforcement order. So I've been talking to Ken Thompson about 95 Niles Street.
I'm gonna accuse myself, Mr. Chairman.
Go right ahead.
Okay.
So, in talking to Ken, he was saying the fastest and most economical way to get the bank restoration done and the trees planted for the property was to do it through an enforcement order. So I just gave him a quick rundown of why we originally wanted to do a notice of intent instead of an enforcement order. It was because the property owner, when you guys did the original site walk, wanted to plant trees, and where the trees would be within the 200-foot riverfront area, we would need to approve them. Then, obviously, we had the issue with the tree stump, so I wanted to lump everything in to a notice of intent, so they could show us the trees they wanted to plant, we could approve them and approve the bank. In talking to Ken, he said it'd be faster to do an enforcement order to get it all done. I said, that's fine. He asked me what trees we were looking for. I said, we're not the ones making the decisions on the trees. It was the applicant or the property owner that wanted to plant the trees. So I said, ask them what trees they plan on planting, and we can add that to the enforcement order as part of the bank restoration. So the plan that Ken dropped off today, that's what that shows. So basically, we would issue an enforcement order for him to stabilize the bank, plant the trees. And I guess what we would do is have to do a 2-year monitoring for the trees that they're planting.
Did he say anything about when he would be able to plant? Because we're almost July.
We didn't talk about scheduling. I'm assuming he's gonna wanna do it now.
Yeah.
He wants to get that slope stabilized the right way. Also, Mr. Kelly did reach out to me today. He plans on putting the correct erosion control down tomorrow.
Can we have a deadline for that
For,
in the enforcement order for putting down the correct erosion control?
Kat, what do you wanna give him, a week? That way we can drive by and see it, or?
Tim?
It's had a couple of weeks already.
Do you want me
Yeah.
to set something up for tomorrow?
If he says he's gonna do it tomorrow, then if
So
we
if,
give him by this weekend, that
Well,
should
I'd
be.
rather do it on, I don't want us to have to go out there on a Saturday or Sunday to,
Right, okay, then Monday, then?
what's the weather look like?
I don't know. A lot of
Rain.
thunderstorms
Yeah,
and
Saturday,
rain.
Sunday, rain.
I know Sunday's rain, I'm supposed to be paving
Okay.
the road Sunday night. I mean, we can say Friday, because if the stuff isn't correctly put down tomorrow, I can list you 5 places off the top of my head where you can pick the stuff up on Friday
Okay.
and get it.
It says cloudy with occasional rain showers on Friday. Occasional rain showers at night. And then we've got 2 days of, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days of thunderstorms.
Humidity's coming in, I think, Thursday.
Yeah.
Tomorrow?
Is that what day it is?
I don't know.
To me, it seemed like, I think we've been really lucky because my impression of the weather this summer spring, has been it's fairly mild. And we've had a lot of good
Temperature-wise,
rain.
absolutely.
Yeah. So I would be fine trees going in as soon as possible.
I mean, there's ways to, I mean, they can put water bags down around the trees and
Yeah.
again, I mean, if it's an enforcement order, if they don't take, they're gonna have to replant them, so.
True.
You guys did a sidewalk out there last week. Did you notice anything different with the bank? Have you noticed any more runoff or erosion or anything like that?
It's kind of hard to tell because the blanket that he had was just kind of slumped down to the bottom, so you couldn't really get a good gauge on what was going on.
Did you see anything on was there water in the stream?
Yes.
Should have been, because it's
There's
rained so
water.
much.
It looked like it was running.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to see because there's a lot of vegetation like grass and stuff that's grown up in the area along the bank that wasn't there when we first went out.
I know one.
That might be obscuring some of it.
I know we went out once, it was like a day or two after it rained out, and that thing has some velocity to it.
Yeah.
So if there was any sediment, it probably would have gotten washed down anyways,
Yeah.
so you wouldn't see it on the floor. So we wanna say Friday for the correct, the jute or straw blankets. And then, I guess we should give them a date that well,
Should
do we wanna box ourselves in?
Right, that's what's
If
gonna
we
happen.
say, we want the trees in by July 1st, they're gonna say, they could come back and say, well, you told us to plant them by July 1st, all the trees are dead because you told us to plant them now instead of the fall. I guess we just,
Upon completion upon stabilization of the banks.
yeah,
I don't like the time of year to plant.
I mean,
It's gonna take a
Like I
lot
said,
of
that-
effort to get those to grow, regardless of, you're gonna have to be diligent with your water. Like you said, I mean, they're gonna have to replace them again, but
but like Rich said, the most important thing right now is the stabilization of the bank. I mean, the trees, they're the ones that wanted to plant the trees.
What if we get
Yeah.
a water ban, for example?
We have one.
We've had
I
one
mean,
for 20 years.
With, I mean, yeah, of course, but like,
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess we can leave the plantings open-ended to them. Just whenever they plant them, that 2-year clock starts ticking.
We could always say that it needs to be done by October 15th. In between, say, September or something,
Well,
to
you-
October 15th.
Another thing we can do is I can just talk to Ken.
Yeah,
I'll act as the agent, talk to Ken and just, he knows better than we do.
yeah.
And if he thinks he can plant the trees now, let him plant the trees now.
Mhm.
But if they die, it's gonna be their responsibility. They're gonna have to plant them again. Or we just tell them to wait until the fall.
My understanding is for enforcement orders is that we have to have dates written in there.
So then why
And
don't
I
we just
totally
say,
agree with you. I
so why don't we
totally
just say
agree.
the fall then? You can then, if he wants to do it July 1st, or if he wants to do it September 1st,
No later than October 15th or
Yeah.
something like that.
yeah, I'm fine with that.
October 1st, so.
October 1st.
Might, then you don't know when it's gonna get cold, you know?
Yeah.
And you
So
want
that'll
time
give
for
them
them
like
to
3 to
start
4
growing.
months to
We've been lucky if we're getting snow in January, February now, so
Yeah.
I think October 1st, 15th, or 30th is
Yeah.
all reasonable times to get a hardy tree in that's not gonna,
What about for the stabilization?
I haven't seen the site, but what's a reasonable amount of time to get that work complete?
you're saying stabilizing the slope,
Yeah,
7 days?
I mean, if he's putting down the matting,
That would be the start of the
Yeah.
stabilization, I guess, at that point.
I would give him a little bit more time, that way we can find someone. You don't wanna have the guy run out and just get the first guy that can do it. You have
Right.
to get somebody,
Is 30 days an excessive amount of time to have him find somebody to contract that and get it
no,
done?
30 days should be plenty, as long as the matting is properly put in place by Friday.
Sounds appropriate then.
So,
And this doesn't cover anything, because he's discussed other things that he wants to do there, it's just covering
this
this,
is just the
right?
trees and the bank. If he wants to do the other stuff that he talked about when we went out there, when you guys went out there, that'd be a whole other,
I would have liked to see a notice of intent, I think.
I think this is basically just an enforcement order for restoration, right?
What's for speed and to get it done, but was gonna give him 3 to 4 months, he could get an NOI and approve before that.
Yeah.
That's
What
the
are the
only
other
thing
things
I
that he
have
wants
with
to
it.
do?
He had talked about numerous things, and when we had done multiple visits, so when you do your plans, everything that you wanna do here, make sure you throw it all in the plan, and then propose it to us as a whole.
but
So
he
you don't
could,
have to keep coming, I mean, he could come back.
he could always come back for a notice of intent and we could rescind the enforcement order and incorporate everything into the notice of intent if he wants
Yep.
to go that way.
I'm fine with an enforcement order and then go from there for the notice of intent. If he decides to do whatever he was gonna do around the house, putting that in at another time. But I think he needs deadlines.
Mhm.
So we're saying 30 days to have the stabilization done, so that would be July 21st. And trees by October 1st or 15th?
Let's go with first. I just feel like that first week of February is kind of the last hurrah of summer. Like the temperatures are cool, still kind of sunny, but it's not frigid cold yet.
Another thing, Tony, can we
Easier.
print out a copy of the regs, the Protection Act and the Riverfront Protection Act, and get it to him, just so he knows, because it's such a, basically, where his property lies, everything needs to, I mean, there are some things that are exempt, but just so something like this doesn't happen again. Huh? Wetland Protection Act, and probably just the Riverfront Protection Act would be suffice.
And our regulations because
Yeah.
of the tree removal.
What are the regs, 3-1?
For trees?
Yeah.
I think we made it dependent upon the size.
Size.
Yeah,
Like the
anything
tree.
6 inches over, right?
Yeah. It was 3 to
And it's
1.
3-1? So that would be 9 trees here, I'm only seeing 3.
Yeah. See,
Yeah, because
I,
he's only calling out 2 red maples and 1 yellow birch. They took down 3 hazard trees over 6 inches in California,
Mm-hmm.
so there should be 9 trees. He has 9 trees and shrubs. Is that how it's written in there? Are they allowed to use shrubs?
we
Maybe.
have allowed to use shrubs. I don't remember though.
I wouldn't mind seeing a
Exactly.
couple shrubs along the,
Yeah, no, I just
Okay.
want to make sure he
Yeah.
has the quantities, but I want to make sure it fits the regs.
I have to look again at the. Tony, would you be able to pull up the tree regs?
I thought
And see
in the regs, I thought we basically gave ourselves the option to,
that you
if we
don't have
wanted,
to have just
if we,
trees.
well, no, if we
right?
wanted to,
I can't, right?
at our discretion, change things around.
If it's appropriate per the site.
Right,
Mhm.
which I think this site is.
I mean, they did say to us that they wanted to have a lot of trees
Mm-hmm.
in the yard when we went on the first site walk and we discussed the trees they wanted to take down.
Mhm.
They were just very excited about putting additional trees, more than just replacing the ones that they wanted to have taken down, so, they were even asking for recommendations for species.
Nice.
So we were really happy when we had that conversation with them about it. Didn't even have to say, hey, our tree regs are this, they just, they offered it up voluntarily. We wanna replace it and we wanna have even more, so. But it would be nice to know if they are gonna be following our regulations. There's nothing saying that it has to be exactly, I mean, he has them lining the bank, which I think is a really good idea, but there's nothing, I mean, they had also mentioned how they wanted privacy from this other neighbor here on Nile Street, so they're still within, you know, their entire property is within the 100-foot riverfront zone. So anywhere that they plant the trees, if we want them to have additional trees, they don't necessarily have to be
In that
along
area,
the
just
bank.
as long as they're on the property, right?
Yeah, so he's got a whole bunch lining the bank to help with the stabilization. But also, if we need to have, say, 3 more trees and just stick them, they're already putting like some arborvitae over here,
Mhm.
we could have them stick some more over there. I don't think they're gonna be upset with that, because they did
Yeah,
mention
they
they
talked
wanted
about having
privacy.
quite a few, yeah.
Yeah.
Look at something real quick. So there's nothing else they'd have to take out to put the trees in, right?
And
No,
shown right now, you say these ones?
Yeah,
Or even in the future?
all these over here. So what trees do they take down, Tim?
Let's see.
I know that's the one where that was
They
the
took
problem
that
tree,
one.
right?
And those two there, this one stayed on this
Okay.
side of the bank.
Okay,
Yeah, so basically all that's clear on that side.
all right. So those stumps are still there, right?
No, I think all the stumps.
Oh, they took all of them up?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, I thought it was just that one was the one that was, when I drove by, there was a problem. And so does somebody want to make a motion to approve the enforcement order with the conditions
I'll
and
make,
deadlines?
yeah, I'll make a motion to approve an enforcement order, with the deadlines mentioned for 95 Niles Street.
Have a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor? Aye.
No.
Next up, permits and site visits. Did you give me that or did I?
I got it right here. I'm
Okay.
Look at it.
So there were 2 site visits done, I'm sorry, permits done, since our last meeting. One was for 29 Gillespie Way, it was a pool, or just a deck.
Yep.
And then 60 Wyman, which was a pool. No wetland issues or Wetland Protection Act issues there. Site visits, we talked about the one at 161 North Quincy, talked about the one at 95 Nile Street. Have we set up the one for Dependable Tree yet? With, I know, it was basically trying
I
to build
shot
around
an
your
email back
schedule.
to Tony.
Yeah,
So,
I haven't done
I'm
it.
She is,
working on it.
okay, waiting to hear back from Dependable. And what about Hanson Tree? Still waiting to hear back from them?
Yeah, I gotta send a letter out certified to Stoughton.
Oh, okay, that to the property owner? Okay. Meeting minutes. Oh, do we wanna talk about the bridge?
No, we can move that to the next.
Okay, next
if you
meeting.
want.
Okay. Hmm?
Do you want me to skip it since they were on?
Huh?
Want to skip it since they were on?
Okay, yeah, we'll table the April 11th meeting minutes until they're revised. Correspondence, no new correspondence. Anybody have anything else?
to adjourn.
No, I'm almost,
Sorry.
almost. The ANRAD checklist, you mentioned that town council had emailed you?
I saw the email came back today, so we can put that on the next,
Okay,
we can forward that off to everybody and then discuss it at the next meeting.
okay. Rich, go
Sorry.
Would someone like to make a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn?
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor, too slow today, Alex, come on. All those in favor?
Aye.